Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Patti Brennan Show. Whether you have $20 or $20 million, this show is for those of you who want to protect, grow, and use your assets to live your very best lives. So for those of you who are tuning in today, you probably know that at the end of every podcast, I encourage everybody to just go to our website. If you have any questions, just send us your questions, because from time to time, I will record the answers. So that's what we're going to do today, okay? It's called the Ask Patti Brennan series. So the first question is, what are some of the issues that I should consider when I'm buying a home? Because a lot of times people just focus, and I will say hyper-focus almost, on the mortgage. Well, first question I have is, how are you going to come up with the down payment? Where's that money going to come from? If it's coming from a gift, you're going to need a gift letter from the person who is giving you that money, because there's no lender in the world that's going to lend you even 80% of the value of the purchase of the home without a really good understanding of where's the other 20% coming from. Okay, so that's first and foremost. Also, when you think about where we are today, it's a mania out there when it comes to real estate. There are a lot of people who want to buy, but not a lot of people who want to sell. So what's happening? The prices are going up. And people who are putting their homes on the market are not just getting their asking prices. They're getting 10, 20% above. So if you're looking for a home, whether it be a primary or even a vacation home, you got to go into that whole situation understanding what tippy top really is. Because you just, once you get into that mode, emotions take over. And I'm finding that a lot of people are going way, way over budget, because the fact of the matter is the cost of a home is not just the monthly mortgage payment, right? It is the monthly mortgage payment plus the real estate taxes plus the insurance. And I think you probably already know that. But what about some of the other stuff? For example, utilities, renovations that you might want to do. If it's a vacation home, where's it located? Because if we're in Pennsylvania and you buy a place in Florida, how are you going to get there? So you got to add that into the cost of the home ownership in terms of what's the all-in package, and then model that based on your personal situation. So now we're going to go into the mortgage situation. What are the lenders going to be looking at? There are two ratios that are critical to keep in mind. The first is 28%. The second is 36%. A lender is going to be looking at your sources of income, and they don't want you to be spending more than 28% of your gross, which means pre-tax, your gross monthly income on your mortgage payment, which includes real estate taxes and insurance. So 28% for that. The 36% for those of you who may have car loans and student loans, they're not going to lend you more than 36% of the total of all that combined with the mortgage payment. So those are the two ratios to keep in mind. And really, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. That, again, would be tippy top, because, again, we're talking gross, pre-tax, because you're not keeping all of your income, right? Figure out what your tax bracket is. Let's say 25% is coming right off the top. So you're only living on 75% of your income in that case. So again, you want to understand the impact of this new property on your personal situation. As you go into this, if it's a new home, if this is your first home, you got to remember you're going to want some furniture, right? There's going to be some big ticket items that come along with that. Even putting in cable TV, the internet costs, things of that nature, that stuff really adds up. Some of it is going to be one-time cost, but if you're putting absolutely everything into your down payment, well, how are you going to pay for that? Because I will tell you, you don't want to be doing that on credit cards. Don't get yourself into that situation. Understand upfront the total all-in cost of purchasing either a primary or a secondary residence. What's it like applying for a mortgage today? Well, if you know anybody that's done it, it is not fun, okay? It's just gathering all the stuff. 2 years worth of tax returns, pay stubs, a statement from absolutely every account. It is a painful process. That has not changed since the financial crisis, so just be prepared. I think that as you go into this also, this is not the time to be adding a credit card. And it's also not the time to be closing a credit card because that has a negative impact on your FICO score. And that's another thing that the lenders are going to be looking at. I think about different ways to fund your down payment. Like, you're looking at the situation and you really want to get this real estate. Let's say that your employer said, hey, guess what? You don't have to come back to the office anymore. And you want to go to a different place and get a nice house way out in the suburbs, et cetera. But how are you going to fund the down payment? Well, assuming that, your great aunt is not gifting you a significant amount of money, you may have different buckets that you can pull from. If you have a Roth IRA, understand what the rules are. As long as you've had that Roth for longer than 5 years, you can take out your contributions completely tax-free, and there is no 10% penalty, even though you're under 59 and a half. If you have a regular IRA, same deal applies. You can take out for the up to $10,000 for your first home purchase. There is no 10% penalty, but you do have to pay income taxes on the amount that you're pulling out of the IRA, the $10,000. If you have a 401k, many employers provide for borrowing privileges. You can take a loan against your 401k. That gives me a little bit of a kind of a heebie-jeebie. I'm not a real big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of actually pulling out of the IRAs either. It's really if you absolutely have to pull money from somewhere. I'm just giving you the rules. I would much rather you wait, understand that you need to fund this down payment and save for it outside of your retirement plans. Real estate's going to go through different cycles. Right now, we're going through a crazy cycle where everybody is just out there looking to buy anything. That's going to calm down. There actually may be better opportunities going forward when things calm down a little bit. And I understand that you're worried probably of rising interest rates, that the mortgage rates are going to go up. I'm not as concerned about that. Yes, they may go up a little bit. I don't see them going up to 6 or 7%. So it may make sense for you to take your time. And by the way, if you don't see yourself being in this property for 5 years or longer, you're going to find, or at least I'm going to tell you, renting is usually a better deal. So really think long and hard, especially in this environment. From a tax planning perspective, recognize and understand that mortgage interest over $750,000 of debt is no longer tax deductible. Again, don't want to let the tax tail wag the dog. That's not why you're buying the real estate. And especially if you're buying an expensive home or vacation home, $750,000 is your limit in terms of what you're able to write off. If you are working from home, if you are self-employed, just make sure that your office space in this new home is literally separate. You don't necessarily have to have a separate entrance, although that always looks and feels better from the IRS's perspective, but it does need to be used exclusively for business use. I guess the only other thing that I'd like to bring up are some of the insurance issues. Keep in mind that, you've got this new beautiful home. Please consider an umbrella liability policy that umbrellas both your car insurance, your auto insurance, as well as your home to cover those, unfortunate things that can happen. Even as wonderful as you are in taking care of your property, people trip, they fall. Unfortunately, they'll sue too. So an umbrella liability protects your other assets and is really important as you consider this. Actually, I have one more thing, guys. You know me. I've always got something I'm pulling out. The other thing to think about is the titling of the property if you're married. Is it jointly held, etc.? And then also, it's really also going to be important to update your will, your powers of attorney, things of that nature, because now you've got a real asset that needs to be considered in your estate plan. So I think that pretty much covers it. If you have questions, again, go to the website, send me an email. I'm happy to help any way I can. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you have a terrific day.